Hi, this is Trey Passer, and this is my movie review of X-Men Days of Future Past with spoilers in it. Okay, this will be my review where I get to talk in depth about the movie and I reveal spoilers. So if you don't want to know particular things that happen in this movie, which I'm going to discuss in a minute, you can just, I guess, tune out or watch my other review of X-Men Days of Future Past with minus spoilers. Okay, just has just minus spoilers, where I just basically discuss the plot in it and stuff and the performances and stuff, what I think of that in the movie and stuff. There's no real detail like I'm going to go into now. If you want to see that review, you can check the link right here for that review. It'll have like some minor spoilers, but not really. It's more like more of a review. I'll put minor spoilers out in case there's certain things, I guess, or in case you haven't seen any of the trailers and stuff and the clips that were released. So that's why I say minor spoilers for that review. Anyway, now here's my review with spoilers. Okay, first of all, this movie, I love the way this movie begins in the future. With the X-Men, you see them, you got Blink, Colossus, Sunspot, Bishop. I love that opening scene which they released as a clip before, with the X-Men basically, the Sentinels are coming for them, and they basically are battling them, and Blink is throwing up these, blank fields so people can disappear into the future or go back in time a little bit earlier. And it's just absolutely fantastic. That whole sequence is absolutely fantastic. You get to see Colossus armor up, Sunspot light up, and in charge of Bishop, and see Kitty Pryde run with Bishop. And I love that opening sequence in the future. It's just fantastic. And and then it ends, and then you think, oh, okay, the X-Men are dead. But then it turns out not to be what you think it is, because I think the way they explain it, and I want to be clear about this, that his Warpath, that's his name, Warpath is in the future too, that he can sense when the Sentinels are coming. So what they do is, I think once they come, they set up a thing where they say where Bishop goes back in time a few days earlier. Uh, so they set it up where they go back, and when they know the Sentinels are coming, they go back in time again to earlier events. So whatever happened doesn't really happen. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And I thought that was cool, the explanation of that. And then of course you see, I think that's takes place in Russia, I think. And then you shoot to China, where you have the X-Men back together again, and the X-Men that's left, and which is Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, Storm, and Warpath, Bishop, Kitty Pryde, and Iceman. Okay, and where they are, they go. Professor Xavier said, they figure out we can't go on this way and stuff, and we should. And Charles Xavier and Magneto suggest that we should send somebody back so we can prevent the event that happened. And in this case, the event was the assassination of Dr. Bolivar Trash, the guy, Peter Dinklage's character, who created the Sentinels. Once he was killed by Mystique in the past, Mystique was captured shortly thereafter, and basically, sorry about that. Of course, I knew this was going to happen. I'm sorry, I was going to get up and close the window, but let's get screwed. Sorry. Sorry about that. This idiot keeps honking the horn. Anyway, so yeah, basically, they decide to send somebody back to stop Mystique from killing Dr. Bolivar Trash, which triggers the event, which she gets captured, and they use her DNA. They experiment with her. They use her DNA to put that inside the Sentinels, the creation of the Sentinels. So this way, like you see in the future, these Sentinels in the future are highly adaptable. The X-Men stop them at first, but they adapt and change, and basically they can mimic the X-Men's powers, just like Mystique can mimic the X-Men and their powers. So that's the plan, to send Wolverine back, because they say because at first I think they say the reason they can send him back is because his mind can heal. He can withstand the rigors of going back that far in time which is decades back to the 70s. Okay, so they lay him down on the table, and then she transports. She explains she's gonna send his mind back to his younger body in the 70s. Okay, and that's where you get the first little bit of humor where Wolverine wakes up, and he's back in the 70s. Okay, and I love, like I said, the sequence where he goes about looking for reuniting the X-Men, or getting the band back together in a way, and he goes back to go to the mansion and get Professor Xavier, get the X-Men together so they can stop Mystique, find out where Mystique is to stop her from this assassination. Of course, like you see in the clip that got released, he goes to the school, and the school's in a state of disrepair, and you see, Beast is still there, Hank McCoy, and of course Professor Xavier. They're the only two left. And you find out that once the war started in Vietnam, a lot of the teachers and a lot of the students got drafted, and then the school fell into disrepair, and Professor just sort of gave up. And actually, they explained the why he can walk part is because he uses experimental drug that Hank McCoy created, which suppresses his power, and makes his spine better so he can walk. And he spends most of his days, getting drunk, and in large part because he feels sorry for himself, and also because he misses Mystique. They really kind of emphasize that in this movie, that he really does miss Mystique and kind of resents Magneto. And of course, when Wolverine goes back in time and convinces, and he basically, of course, the drunk, bitter Charles Xavier doesn't believe it. But then, when Wolverine quotes something to him, something that he said to him, he believes it. And he said, first he still doesn't believe it, but then I think he thinks about his relationship with Raven, and then he decides, okay, I'm going to do this for her. And of course, then Wolverine reminds him, listen, we need Magneto as well. And that's when they tell him, like you see in the trailer, that he's underground, and they have to literally go get him. He's in the Pentagon underneath 50 feet of concrete or something, and they basically, I like the way they explain how he got that because they blame him for the assassination of Kennedy, and that's the explanation. And so Professor X said, listen, we can't get in, there's no way to get in there. And then Wolverine says, you know what, I know a guy. He'll probably be young, but I know a guy. And that's when you meet Evan Peters, Quicksilver, who's absolutely hilarious. He makes the movie with comedy and the awesomeness of his powers, the speed and stuff. And that whole sequence when they break into the Pentagon is absolutely fantastic. That last, I guess, display of his power, where you see him, where after they rescue Magneto and Professor and him have their little exchange, and then all these cops, basically confront them and basically get ready to fire, and they actually do fire. And then that's when you see Quicksilver does his thing in slow motion, directing bullets, shifting hats, putting fist to face. That whole sequence is absolutely hilarious. Oh my God, Evan Peters I like the way he has that droll sense of humor, which is actually makes it funnier. Okay, and that was absolutely fantastic and joy to see Quicksilver displaying his power. And there's a nice little nod where I'm trying to think, I forgot, where they basically imply that his mother, because they set it up where his mother's a single. His mother, Quicksilver, lives at home with his mom and his little sister, Wanda. I'm assuming that it's Wanda because you see later in the sequence where he's watching TV, Quicksilver, and he has a young girl in his lap. And I'm assuming that's Wanda. Okay, but I don't think they directly say that. But if I check the credits, they probably do say that's Wanda. Anyway, and his mother's a nice single mother, and then they drop a hint. Basically, even though they can't technically claim that Quicksilver is the son of Magneto, they kind of say it by not saying it. I think saying that his mother knew a guy, and so that's what immediately came in my head when they said that. That's his father right there. So they kind of get that in there, just like it's in the comic that he's his father. Okay, but anyway, okay, that's open sequence is fantastic. I mean the breakout scene is fantastic. And then of course they go to try to stop Raven, and they show they basically explain how she's after Magneto got locked up, she went her own way, and she's been trying to help mutants and stuff. Okay, and then they show a great sequence where you truly get Mystique's motivation, where she breaks into Trash's office and she checks his secret files and finds out, of course, that he's been experimenting on mutants. And you see a lot of the mutants that were in first class, like Azrael, I think, and that's him, and I think Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Zoe Kravitz, whatever her character's name was. You see through the folder, when she's looking through the folder, that the Trash has been experimenting on mutants, and of course that gets her very emotional. And of course, she plans to kill him at the Paris Peace Accords. Okay, at the end of the Vietnam War. Okay, she's going to kill Trask and, of course, trigger this horrible future. So, the Professor, Magneto, and Wolverine, and yeah, that's it. And Beast, they head over to Paris to stop it, to stop Mystique. And, of course, they get there just after she's basically, and before she gets ready to assassinate her, and, of course, try to stop her. But then this leads to even another twist with Magneto, of course, going his own separate way. Okay, he goes off script in a way and basically tries to kill Mystique, and then basically takes charge of the Sentinels. Okay, and I love that the whole Michael Fassbender's kind of, I was gonna say heel turn, but he was already, I guess he was he wasn't a heel. He was what do you call that in wrestling? Not a heel turn. Kind of anti-hero before that, but then he goes full heel. Okay, and basically, like I say, he tries to kill Mystique. Okay, and then he basically decides, okay, you know what? I'm going to start this war between humans and men. I'm going to start this war. I'm going to start this war now. Okay, and basically he hijacks the Sentinels, and I love that whole sequence where he rips up the tracks and basically puts metal inside all the Sentinels, so that way he can control them. And I thought that was sheer genius and a beautiful sequence. I love that. And I love at the end where of course the X-Men try to stop him, of course, but they can't, and he gets away, Magneto. And like I say, he's on his mission to start World War II. And of course, at the same time, you see Peter Dinklage's character, what's his, I keep forgetting his name, Trask. He basically goes to the President Nixon, and says, listen, okay, because of the events that they saw, remember that the peace thing, that's being filmed, and that whole sequence happens in front of the cameras where Mystique jumps out the window and she is in her full form, and you see, like I said, Magneto trying to, to stop her, and that's getting filmed, and you see Beast jump down there and change and tries to stop Magneto by drowning him, and all that whole sequence is getting filmed, and of course that allows Trash to convince the Nixon to go ahead and fund the Sentinels, which he agrees to do, and they're going to have a nice demonstration at the end of the movie to show, well, not the end, but towards the end to highlight this, that Nixon has an answer to this threat of called mutants. And I love the whole sequence of that too, when they get ready to confront Mystique after the first time she gets ready to kill Trash. Okay, and I love that part because it's pure chaos. A lot of different things are happening at the same time. Wolverine is as soon as he sees a young, what's this guy's name? The guy who basically experimented on him, gave him the adamantium claws and stuff, and the skeleton. I forgot the character's name. Damn, hold on, I can't remember the guy's name. Hold on. He plays a younger version of it, and as soon as Wolverine sees him, he starts having flashbacks of the experiments that were done to him. What's the character's name? Hold on. Damn, I'm trying to draw a blank on his name. The army, Bill Stryker, played by Josh Helman. Bill Stryker. As soon as he sees Stryker, that's when they're getting ready to confront Mystique. He starts losing it and starts, having these rush of memories, and it was totally disorients. And of course, with his body in the future, he starts wailing And basically, I love that whole sequence. And he basically claws pop, and I think he slightly injures Shadowcat. And of course, he's no help when Magneto goes goes full heal, and and tries to kill Mystique. And then later, of course, you have that after the chaos and after Magneto's gotten away and basically taking control of the Sentinels, they go back to the mansion. Wolverine, Beast, and Professor X, and where basically they try to. He decides to use. Wolverine convinces him to stop taking the spinal fuel, so that way, his powers will come back, and he won't be able to walk, but his powers will come back, and he'll be able to use Cerebro to bring back to find out where Mystique is, and then convince her to not to kill the trash and prevent this horrible future from happening. And I love that sequence where they go back and he puts on the helmet again for the first time in a while, and it totally frazzes it, and then Wolverine convinces him, read my mind so you can know, you can know why you sent me back. And there's that great sequence where he reads his mind, and you see him confront his future self, and they have that great conversation where he convinces him to hope again. The old Professor X, explains to young Professor X, to hope, please hope again, and you can prevent this future, and that humans and mutant kind can work together and choose a different path. Okay, which I thought was a great sequence of them talking together. Okay, basically through Wolverine's mind link, and of course then he comes back and he does able to locate Mystique and tries talking to her, of course, but she's still not having it, and she goes back to she's on a mission to assassinate Trash to prevent what she thinks more mutants deaths. And of course, like I said, at the same time you have Magneto with his own agenda of wanting to start the war. He wants to start the war between mankind and humans. He wants to start it now. He's going to use the Sentinels to do it. Okay, and I love that sequence. Like I said, they're in the White House on the lawn, and Nixon's basically getting ready to unveil the Sentinels. Okay, when Magneto makes his appearance, a great sequence where he literally picks up a stadium, literally from its foundations, and puts it over the White House, around this whole area. And of course, he explains how he's going to start this war. He's going to start this war. Basically that humans have a right to fear mutants because, we're going to be we're the future. Okay, and I love that sequence too, with him and the robots coming in, and of course Wolverine and Beast tries to stop him, and even Professor X, and of course, like I said, at the same time Mystique is trying to get close to the president. She's described herself as one of the advisors. She's getting close to where she can get a clear shot at Trash. And of course, Professor X is still trying to convince her. Wolverine and them are trying to stop the Sentinels and stop Magneto from basically assassinating the whole president, all of the president, and President Nixon and his cabinet. Okay, and like I said, I love that whole sequence at the with them battling each other, and of course Professor X convincing Mystique to choose a different path, that she's telling her that she doesn't have to kill Trash, and there's another way. And I love that. And Magneto, what he does to Wolverine was just horrific. Basically inserting a bunch of metal into him so that way he can control him, and basically tossing him into the ocean. I thought that was just fantastic and awesome. And at the same time, you have the scenes in the future where the Sentinels find out where the X-Men are. They track them, and that whole sequence in the future is happening at the same time. The sequence in the past is happening. And I thought that was a nice thing what Bryan Singer did, having those two scenes together like that. And of course, they managed to convince Mystique, and she actually turns on Magneto and shoots him and she winds up basically saving the president and shooting Magneto in the neck. And of course, then everything's right in the world. And once that they, basically Mystique has stopped Magneto, and Professor X decides to let Magneto go and let Mystique go their own separate ways. But of course now the world knows, because oh yeah, I forgot to say, there's that sequence where before Magneto, he has a sentinel behind him and he's gonna fry the president and all his cabinet. He turns the camera on so everybody over the world is watching it, and so now they have seen mutants actually save the president and his cabinet. So that changes the things in the future, and you see that just before the X-Men are getting overwhelmed by the Sentinels and they're killing them left and right, and they're just breaking into the fortress where Magneto, Professor X, Shadowcat, and Iceman are, and Wolverine is unconscious with his conscious back in the 70s. And then as soon as Mystique doesn't kill Nixon or Trash, everything vanishes, and then Wolverine actually wakes up in the future. He wakes up, the past has been changed, so Wolverine wakes up in his room, and I love this sequence where he gets up, and he's kind of disoriented, and then he starts walking down the hallway, and then he starts seeing the school filled with X-Men, and students going back and forth, going to various classes, and then the first sequence you see is Older Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer, and that brought a smile to my face. Okay, and then you see Rogue and Bobby at the end of the hall, which I thought was nice too, and then you see them go off, and then you see Shadowcat and Colossus, just like it would be in the comics, with Kitty Pryde falling for Peter Rasputin, Colossus, aka the Colossus. You see them in teaching a class, and then you see Wolverine walk down the steps even further, and you see Storm, again talking to a few students, and then you see him walk towards the lab professor's office, and you see a redhead. You just see her from the back, and then she slowly turns around, and of course that's Jean Grey, which brought an instant smile to my face. And of course Wolverine's happy that he can see her, remember, because he can remember what happened in the altered future, but nobody else knows. Okay, and he comes, and of course he's stunned and happy to see her at the same time. And then when he reaches for her, then you see a hand come up and grab his hand and say, hey buddy. And of course it's Cyclops, played by James Marsden. That brought a big smile to my face, that they corrected the timeline, and now Cyclops and Phoenix or Jean Grey are still alive, and I love that. That brought a big instant smile to my face. And of course you have him confronting the professor again, and I love that whole thing at the end where they talk to each other, and they basically just say that he's going to go teach history, Wolverine, at the school, and the school is fully functional, and the future has been changed. And this movie, like I said, it's one of the best, I think the best X-Men movie. I love the combination of cast. And definitely, I think this one, then X2, and then X-Men First Class. Those will be the top three for me. Okay, in terms of X-Men movie, this movie is fantastic. Like I said, great sense of humor. Love the performances by Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence. Like I said, the only character that was kind of underdeveloped, I think, was Trash. Oliver Trash, played by Peter Dinklage. I didn't think they gave you a good enough reason why what was driving him to do this. I mean, there was one sequence, I think, where he's talking to the young Major Stryker, and he said, well, I think Stryker tells him, you must really hate mutants, right? He said, no, I don't hate them. I rather admire them, But that doesn't explain why you're experimenting with them. Okay, experimenting on them and killing a lot of them. Okay, so, but other than that, I absolutely love this movie. Again, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. Just absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I love those feature sequences. Love the chemistry between the actors, all of the actors. Okay, I thought it was great. And I love Evan Peters as Quicksilver. He was absolutely hilarious and funny at the same time. Wolverine was his usual great self. And I love, like I said, the chemistry between Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy. And I love that scene where he confronts him on the plane, and then Magneto gets up and explains even further. Okay, pushes him back even further. I thought that was just a good sequence, acting-wise, fantastic. And again, Magneto going full heel, going off the plan, or going off script. Okay, I thought that was great. Controlling the Sentinels and stuff, and about to unleash holy hell with those Sentinels, which he controls because they have metal in them now, courtesy of Magneto. And I thought that was fantastic. So definitely, I think I talked to, this is almost 25 minutes of a spoiler-free review. Not spoiler-free, spoiler review. Okay? So, of course, and then the after-credit scene takes place in the distant past, and you have Abin Sur, well, I was going to say Abin Sur, where they have a young Apocalypse. I'm assuming that's Apocalypse. At first, I thought it was a woman, a young, because you see basically some guy with his hands up and he's gesturing, and you see all these pyramids come together, and people are chanting his name. Okay, and so that that's setting up X-Men Apocalypse. So I'm assuming that's the young Apocalypse. Okay, in that sequence, I thought was fantastic. So giving a little clue to the next movie, which I think is supposed to take place in the '80s. I think. I would love for them to have another full movie. I'm happy that they brought Cyclops and Jean Grey back and corrected that awful timeline. Okay, but I kind of wish they'd make another movie. But I think they're gonna do another movie, First Class, this time with Age of Apocalypse. So, but I'm hoping that they, if they do the Age of Apocalypse, because in the comic book Age of Apocalypse, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Jean Grey do play a part in that, but I think they're going for the. That's what I read, though I don't know if that's set in stone, because we know it's going to be Age of of Apocalypse, but I don't know if they're going to stick to the straight comic story or are they going to incorporate? Because I think that's supposed to be with mostly the X-Men First Class crew in that one, or characters. Okay, so anyway, that's my spoiler review of X-Men Days of Future Past. I can't highly recommend it. I give it a 9 out of 10. Great action sequence, great performances by the cast, nice sense of humor, and just ultimately a satisfying ending and a great way to correct the abomination that was X-Men 3. Okay, The Last Stand. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you've seen the movie, feel free to leave comments down below. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.